Supreme Court affirms elections of Samuel Otom and Amadou Pintere as governors of Benue and Adamawa states.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss JAMB reforms and technology.
The country is developing to a digital age. We won't stay in an analog age where we write exams with paper.
Now, the introduction of and adoption of computer-based test CBT for entrance examination into tertiary institutions by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, in the country has recorded many successes and failures since it started in 2015.
Absolutely, Kyria. Now, the pencil and paper-based examination format had several complaints, including logistics, financial expenses, and leakages of question papers before the examination. There were also incidents of copying by candidates, collaboration with invigilators to cheat, as well as impersonation in the process and several other anomalies. Hence the need for reform and the introduction of the computer-based test system by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board.
Now, JAMB has maintained that the CBT system, which also had its share of problems, in line with international best practice in conducting public examinations, arguing that the benefits far outweighed the challenges. But incidents of technical flaws like system malfunction, cyber failures during exams, biometric failure, and inconsistency in result declarations have sparked criticism of the process among affected candidates and their parents.
But in spite of the current challenges affecting the conduct of the computer-based exam being conducted by JAMB, many agree that the introduction and use of biometrics and profile capturing of candidates, the use of central admission process, all combined have to a large extent checked incidents of impersonation, exam malpractices, and other infractions, and ultimately have sought to restore the credibility and integrity to the UTME process in the country.
Well, this may be one of the reasons the registrar of JAMB, Professor Ishak Oloyede, has been receiving awards from various organizations, including the government of the National Productivity Order Merit Award by President Muhammadu Buhari for his excellent quality service to the nation. The sanity is seen to have restored due to his zero tolerance to corruption or corrupt practices in the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination (UTME) and admission processes in public universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education across the nation.
All right, so another UTME is just around the corner, and one question to ask is, what is the most visible impact technology has had on the quality of service in JAMB, and why has it generated some controversy in some quarters, and how much of a difference and impact has the CBT, that's the computer-based test system, made in the admissions process, including, of course, the issues with regard to JAMB registration and ultimately how students or candidates get to be admitted into tertiary institutions. And what about the complaints that some of the candidates have with regard to the capacity of JAMB itself to manage and continue to conduct the examinations?
Well, the 2020 JAMB registration process has been completed across Nigeria, and as usual, there were complaints from candidates and parents. So these are some of the issues our guests will be addressing later in the course of the program. My name is Kyrian Umayo. Many thanks for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria this Wednesday morning.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Kyrian and also welcome you to the program, reaching you, as always, live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. In the course of the program, we have our supplementary segments, and these include newspaper review, business, and others. For now, let's join Musbah Udan Wahab, our other colleague, for the highlights of the morning news. Good morning, Musbah.
So very good morning, Kingsley. Let's take a bit of the news. The first UK-Africa Investment Summit has ended in London, with the British government announcing new initiatives worth over £1.5 billion expected to massively create job opportunities across Africa. The United Kingdom also offered to mobilize private investment valued at over £2.4 billion for African countries. The Secretary, Department for International Development, Alok Sharma, made this known while declaring the summit closed.
Trading partnership with African nations. Today, CDC has agreed new investments worth £300 million and are committed to invest a further $2 billion in Africa over the next 2 years. And what makes the UK different is our recognition that this huge investment needs to be felt by local communities across the whole of Africa.
Still coming from London, President Muhammadu Buhari, as part of commitment towards addressing infrastructure deficits in the country, especially in the power sector, has solicited continued support from the World Bank to improve transparency, service delivery, and investor confidence in the sector. President Buhari was in audience with the President of the World Bank, David Malpass, on the sidelines of the UK Africa Investment Summit in London.
The President of the World Bank sort of reaffirmed the the commitment of the World Bank to continue to engage that Nigeria needs financial support.
Back in Nigeria, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo Tuesday received a delegation of a D8 Organization for Economic Cooperation led by the Secretary General, Ambassador Datoku Jafaru Kushari. The Vice President expressed the Buhari administration's readiness to work closely with the countries that share similar socio-economic objectives that increases economic opportunities and healthcare delivery to citizens. He pledged the commitment of the country to the D8's objectives.
Providing the primary health care, but we want to see health sector helping all the member states to advance, the economic growth and development.
From the judiciary, the Supreme Court has affirmed the elections of Samuel Otom and Hamadu Fintiri as governors of Benue and Adamawa states, respectively. The 7-man panel of justices led by Justice Bode Rhodes Vivo dismissed the 2 appeals for lacking in merit.
Given by the good people of Benue State to Governor Otom has been judicially approved.
And from the INEC headquarters, Abuja, comes a report that all is now set for the conduct of 28 court-ordered by-elections in 12 states this Saturday. New resident electoral commissioners have also been sworn in.
There will be election in Cross River State in 2 constituencies. So, Dr. Johnson, your work is clearly cut out right from the beginning.
On education, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has withdrawn licenses from 11 centers for charging candidates exorbitant amounts in the ongoing 2020 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examinations (UTME) registration. Registrar of the board, Professor Isaac Oloyede, said this in Abuja at an interactive session with stakeholders.
And 500 naira for the book, nothing more, nothing less. And where they register, they will pay 700. We have some violators that we have caught.
Code of Conduct Bureau, CCB, is reaffirming its commitment to ending corrupt practices among the nation's public servants to reduce its negative effect on the socio-economic development of the country. This was part of the submissions from the board chairman, Code of Conduct Bureau, Professor Issa Mohammed, while meeting with the Controller General, Nigeria Customs Service in Abuja.
Corrupt practices embedded in the conduct of public officers. We don't wish to make a plea or call on the Nigerian Customs Service that they should show a sort of exemplary conduct in terms of asset declaration.
That's a bit of the news this morning. Join us for more subsequently in the course of the day. After the break, we're taking a look at the highs and lows in the conduct of UTME across Nigeria. That's after the break with Kingsley and Kieran guiding the process.
20 years of travel and counting. 20 years of promoting tourism in Africa and diaspora. Over 3 million kilometers traveled. Over 30 African countries visited. Explored the diaspora in 4 continents. Connected over 100,000 happy tourists to Africa. Reached over 50 million homes. Igniting smiles across Africa and beyond. As Goge Africa turns 20, we thank you and invite you to join us in the quest for 20 must-visit destinations in partnerships with the largest TV network in Africa, the NTA, Ministry of Information and Culture, Ministry of Transportation, Studio 24, Delta Airline, Toll Brokers International. You too can still be a partner. Call the numbers on your screen or info@gogeafrica.tv. Goge Africa, celebrating 2 decades of heritage, travel and tourism.
Not so fast. Look, I'm tired. I want to check out of this country for greener pastures.
Just calm down for a moment. Please sit down.
Do you have a job where you're going to? No, but someone is arranging,
Listen, Alinko. Checking out of this country without proper planning means one thing. Unimaginable begin. I've been in the diaspora, but legitimately doing great things at home and abroad. As I've been saying, without the proper footing abroad, the risk is not worth it. Listen, Alinko, it's better to be home than be trapped abroad or even end up in prison.
Stop! They are germs. You will fall sick. Daughter, why don't you stop them?
Mom, stopping the kids from playing stops the learning. That's why we stop the germs.
Indeed, Safeguard fights against germs. Safeguard removes 99% of germs.
Why don't you stop them? We have to stop. Not the kids, but...
This year, the weather conditions Harmattan in Nigeria is harsh, with temperature dropping very low in some parts of the country. Many underprivileged children are exposed to these harsh weather conditions, putting them at risk to all sorts of respiratory infections with devastating consequences. We request well-meaning Nigerians to kindly donate warm clothing, blankets, beverages, soap, moisturizers, and other essential items for the benefit of these children. Get involved to support displaced and underprivileged children exposed to these harsh weather conditions. Powered by Aisha Buhari Foundation.
As you know, kids' exam time is exam time for moms too. The child prepares intensely, so does the mom, taking care of every little thing. But germs can ruin it all. What if he falls ill on his exam day?
Every single day is important for kids. That's why they need Dettol soap. It protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday protection, everyday Dettol.
65 grams, now 150 naira.
My name is Balaunti. I'm the Managing Director of Petroleum Product Marketing Company, a subsidiary of NNPC. There are significant price discrepancy between Nigeria and its neighbors across Africa. There's a discrepancy of between 150 to 250 naira. That creates an incentive for arbitrage, whereby smuggling triumphed by taking petroleum product across the neighbors so that they can be sold at higher price. While the smugglers are making the money, Nigeria is paying for it. And that payment is distorting everything that we do in terms of planning, in terms of our ability to fund and thereby taking money that is meant for development. The introduction of this Operation White will have a reduction of close to 6 million liters on daily basis, which if you take an average of 150 translate to a saving of over ₦1 billion every day. That is the benefit of Operation White, and we have started seeing the great benefit.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Now time to go business. Stakeholders advocate a paradigm shift in tackling issues of unemployment in the country to include a change in basic schools curriculum. Chimobi Walter Naji is our guide.
The need to inculcate entrepreneurship education and technical skill among school children to ensure a future generation where innovation and entrepreneurship will shape the basis of the Nigerian economy formed the focus of a discourse in Abuja, which drew students from all over the country. Solving the challenges of funding for businesses, knowledge sharing, and leveraging the opportunities of information technology were highlighted as panacea for achieving desired results.
We want to foster access to functional and entrepreneurship education, financial literacy, citizenship service education, and community service. Our primary focus is simply to sow the seed for Africa's peace and prosperity. We cannot separate entrepreneurship from peace and prosperity.
With over 200 million African youths aged between 15 to 24 years old, and over 60% of them unemployed, you could not find a more potent respite for chaos, insecurity, hopelessness on the continent than entrepreneurship education.
In a related development, some entrepreneurs believe that having the right mindset and enabling environment from government will go a long way towards opening up the micro, small and medium enterprises sector in the country and help create wealth for the teeming unemployed youths nationwide.
It's high time in Nigeria we should believe, we should not rely on government for everything. You need to develop yourself. You need to ask yourself, that look, that like I said earlier, what can I do for the society? But most of the time we're always looking for, I want to work in Shell, I want to work in NNPC. Are you for real? What you need to think about now is, what have you studied? If you have studied engineering, have you added value to yourself? Have you gone to even done the practical aspect of it without you even looking at the government? What have you started on your own?
And now to the capital market, where trading closed negative on the second day of the week. Here is a graphic look at the closing figures after trading on the floor of the exchange Tuesday, 21st February 2020. In Abuja, I'm Chimobi Walter Naji. All right, thank you very much, Chimobi Walter Naji there for the business packet. Next on the program is Newspaper Review.
Well, our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Altebi, is already here with us. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kiran. Good morning. Good morning, Kinsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right.
Let me start with the Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust newspaper from top to bottom. Lassa fever kills 16 in Ondo State, 2 in Kano. It's on page 3. Bank customers groan as glitches mar e-transactions. It's on page 15. Now the lead story, federal government, Southwest governors, more political solution to Amoteku. I hope I got that correctly. That's with a rider, rallies in Lagos, Ekiti, Oyo, and others. That story can be read in full details on page 5. Now, the bottom of the newspaper, 9 Imo lawmakers defect to APC. It's on page 52. I still don't know the identity of our attackers, Tawari ruler says. It's on page 6. Now, Buhari, terrorists will pay heavy price for killing Khan chairman. That's all for Daily Trust.
Okay, we'll take a look at the New Telegraph newspaper. New Telegraph newspaper above the nameplate, e-payment. Banks, customers transfer 105.2 trillion naira as e-bills hit over 600 billion naira, and Nigerians spending 3.2 trillion naira using POS in 2019. Global Fund, Nigeria gets $140 million to tackle TB. That's page 4. And then below the name flag, Imo, that's Imo State, Deputy Speaker resigns. 9 PDP, AA, and ABGA lawmakers defect to APC. That's page 32. And on page 5, EFCC out to scandalize me with forfeiture of my property. That's attributed to former Senate President Saraki. Suspects, why we killed Lagos billionaire and collected 900 million naira property. That's page 9. Amotekun, thousands march in solidarity across the Southwest. Now, the lead story comes with a kicker: insecurity. Nigeria at the crossroads. That's according to former military head of state, General Abdulsalami. With 4 riders, Boko Haram rejects 50 million naira ransom, beheads Khan chair. Official, insurgents demanded 2 million euros before killing cleric. Khan passes vote of no confidence in security chiefs. And Buhari, Andimid's killing, cruel, and deliberately provocative. That's pages 2 and 8. And then on the front page of the New Telegraph, you can see there what's a floating filling station. That's the one provided by NNPC for people of the riverine areas. It was commissioned at Oporoma in Bayelsa yesterday. That's a floating filling station there. And last, right at the foot of the front page, 2 stories. Supreme Court to APC, you have no case against Otom and Fintiri, and Apex Court upholds Benue and Adamawa governors' elections. Tiny air pollution particles may trigger heart attacks. Page 7. Well,
President Muhammad Buhari had joined many Nigerians in condemning the killing of the Christian Association of Nigeria chairman of Michika, who was abducted early in January. He was murdered by the terrorist group. President Muhammad Buhari says the murder is inhuman. Reverend Lawan Andim was shown on a video where his captors on January 5 were demanding ransom. He had appealed to Governor Amadou Fintiri as well as his colleague clergymen to do all they can to secure his release. The criminals, terrorists, had demanded, some say, £2 million, others say 3 million euro, an equivalent of about 946 million. It was said that 50 million was what was offered, but they not only refused it, they felt infuriated and decapitated Reverend Lawan Andim. It's been a gruesome thing for the Northeast, particularly the Christians there, and many of them, including the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Adamawa State, have been very hard in condemning the action that has taken place. Meanwhile, the President Muhammadu Buhari, who is visiting, who is at the United Kingdom and Africa Investment Summit, has appealed to Prime Minister Boris Johnson to speed up extradition of Nigerian fugitives who are taking refuge in the United Kingdom. Femi Adesina, the spokesperson for the president in the statement, said the president says the corruption war was slow but painstakingly steady. He sought the cooperation of the National Crime Agency of United Kingdom, particularly as regard fugitives who are taking refuge in the United Kingdom. He also used the opportunity to stress the need for support for the recharging of Lake Chad, as well as the progress made by Nigerian government on girl-child education. Prime Minister Boris Johnson identified President Muhammadu Buhari as a respected regional leader and therefore somebody that the West had a lot of encouragement in. He lauded the jobs being created in agriculture and also social economic benefits that is accruing therefrom. He promised that he will do all he can to support the war against corruption through the National Crime Agency. He also pledged support for the recharging of the Lake Chad Basin as a means of enhancing security and also the economy of that basin. Meanwhile, the Economic and Financial Crime Commission Chairman, Acting Chairman Ibrahim Magu, has said that about 18 high-profile fugitives who have allegedly looted Nigeria will soon be repatriated. The acting chairman made this revelation while visiting Ilorin, and he says, "We shall repatriate all looters hiding anywhere in the world." He sought the cooperation of the media, and he also provided a clarification and saying that the opening of a zonal office in Ilorin was not a purpose of witch hunting anybody. Rather, Kwara State, being part of Nigeria, deserves to have a zonal office.
Yeah. There's one story actually that may not be on the front page of the newspaper, but I thought I technically read something like that. Why we beheaded...
why we killed Lagos billionaire,
Lagos billionaire,
yes, million naira.
Yes, it's trending on the social media for some days now. They lured the man into a hotel room, pretending to have the money to purchase whatever piece of land they were talking about, and they killed him in the process. And of course, they kept his body and they put it in a bag. And a lot ran out of them, when the police who are carrying out investigation on that, caught one of the culprits, and of course implicated the rest of them. There are about 4 of them that did that.
Well,
so what is this? And again, they made the first contact with the man via telephone. So that tells you how social media is now being used for the purpose of crime. It's no longer Yahoo. It has germinated into something else.
Well, there are variants of it, but most of the time people need to be very careful. When you are not familiar with another individual on the end of the social media, either through whatever means, and they get in contact with you to either do a deal or ask you about your account details. It is very rampant now, and if you fall prey of that, you will become a victim and you will only have regret. One has to be circumspect because the advantage of social media is its pervasiveness. However, it also has its gross danger, and people with criminal mind exploit its usage to actually harm other people.
Well, the details of the story, I mean, for those who have not accessed it, say, on the social media, Kirian, can be found on page 9 of the New Telegraph newspaper. Just apart from the ills of social media, this actually relates to property transaction and the care and caution that everyone should exercise, when engaging in property transaction. Now, we are right here in the Abuja headquarters studios of the NTA. The property in question was here in Abuja, according to the report, at Katakbe Extension. A certain gentleman, he's been referred to as a medical doctor, 42 years of age, said he came to Abuja, saw the property, and discussed with the guard, and the guard then gave him the name of the owner, who eventually was the victim, Chief Ignatius Odunukwe. I mean, it's said to be in charge of fireman generator, billionaire, according to the report, or if you say, a multi-millionaire. And they said, okay, we'll sell the property. Now, they arranged to meet at a hotel. Apparently, the hotel was nominated by the potential buyer, who is a medical doctor. And so he, the vendor, that's the owner of the property, who was going to sell the property, took his original documents to the venue of the meeting, which was a hotel. He had, the potential buyer, had taken out a room in the hotel. And it was while he was pretending to bring out cash, to show that he was serious. I mean, how would you be transacting the business of 900 million naira
in cash?
And you'll be doing that in cash. And in the first instance, why would it is you as a seller or the vendor who should choose the location of the meeting?
And as a matter of fact, his lawyer actually, discussed the issue with him.
Precisely.
But he didn't take his lawyer along.
Yes.
How could you have transacted almost $1 billion naira deal in cash?
So your lawyer should be there with you, and it should be at a venue that is secure. Even for the security of the buyer himself. You don't just go because somebody wants to sell a property and they say, okay, we should meet at such a location, and then you go there, and then you go. And so it was while, of course, they were in that hotel room that the person identified as a medical doctor struck him with an axe. And then they dismembered his body eventually, stuffed it into a Ghana must go
back. And meanwhile, the story says that there is a former staff of that hotel was involved. Because he was the person that led them out of the place through the back door, they did laundry.
So it's a great deal of caution that people should exercise whenever. I mean, the basic rule ordinarily for property transaction is caveat emptor, buyer beware. You must be sure of the integrity of the paper, that there are no encumbrances and all that. But considering some of the criminal instances that have been reported in recent times, you never can be too careful when you want to close a deal relating to property.
And people try to showcase what they have on social media, especially on Facebook. People showcase their property. People showcase all manner of things, showing that, I have arrived. I mean, this is who I am at the moment. And these guys cashing on such persons, I begin to trail you.
Yeah, some of the information people put on the social media make them a bait for criminals, because some arrested criminals had testified that they got some information about their victims from the social media. They voluntarily put some of those information there. And
I don't know how this will sound, but I don't have a Facebook account.
Yes.
And I don't consider it necessary. I mean, for all the communication that I need, there are several other platforms, because there are persons who would answer your kind of name, and by the time you start providing details, trying to distinguish yourself from others, people have access to your ID, and then they can do all kinds of things with it.
Exactly. I had to make mine inactive when I discovered that tangentially I could be linked up with anybody without my consent.
Precisely.
Okay, now the lead story on Daily Trust about federal government Southwest Governor small political solution to Amotekun. This Amotekun issue has lingered for now.
Yes, it is said that the Office of the Vice President has summoned the governors of the 6 Southwest states to a meeting. The meeting was initially scheduled for Tuesday, but it has been pushed now to Thursday. Hopefully, they want to find a political solution. This all came after they launched the Operation Amotekun on January 9th. And 5 days later, a press advisor to the Attorney General of the Federation issued a statement to say that Amotekun is an illegal thing because the Nigerian Constitution recognizes the police and the Nigerian Army as the only instruments of defense for the nation. However, there's been hue and cry there. In fact, there have been demonstrations in Lagos, Ekiti, and some southern states. And there are a protestation and placards insisting that Amotekun has come to stay. Parallels have been cited about Hisbah. Hisbah is established by law in Kano State and some other states. A parallel has also been drawn with civilian JTF, which is supporting the military in fighting insurgency in Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe. But the fact of the matter is that we are caught in our own political contradictions. You have northern governors holding meeting, southwest governors holding meeting, southeast governors, south-south governors. But in our constitution, we don't have regions. What we have, the federation states, are states, the federal, and probably the local government. But we have willingly and wittingly recognized 6 geopolitical zones, and some people fall back to the old order of the First Republic and gradually are reviving the sense of regionalism. And constitutionally, even the National Assembly is conceding to it. We already have Niger Delta Development Commission. We have Northeast Development Commission. Of recent, at the Senate, there was a proposal for Southwest Development Commission. Very soon, the Southeast Development Commission, which was also raised in the Senate, will also gain momentum. So we are going in circles about this. And unless we sort ourselves out, we'll be caught in the contradictions that are there.
All right, Bayo and Kira, before we take the editorial, just to reference this again. Imo State, Deputy Speaker resigns, 9 PDP AA APGA lawmakers defect to APC. Apparently nothing strange with this, because it's the story of the state houses of assembly in the Fourth Republic. We have seen this since 1999. This has happened now, and the simple question to just ask yourself is, why won't state lawmakers continue to be in the pockets of the state executives, namely the governor? And then tomorrow you will say we don't have 3 arms of government at the state level. Obviously, things like this. What is the rationale for this defection?
It's obvious, because that the new dispensation, that there's a governor that is All Progressive Congress, and the tide of influence is shifting. However, sadly, it's coming from lawmakers who should know that, having been elected on the platform of one political party, if you are cross-carpeting and leaving, going to another political party, you ought to resign your position and go and contest afresh. Ideally, that is what
there's even no point discussing this, because, like Kingsley pointed out, he's been there since 1999. Parties are formed not based on ideologies. People belong to parties because they have the tickets, to run for one office or the other. It's an established fact. So we don't really need to discuss it, because apparently more people are going to join APC in Imo State.
All right, Bayo, we just mentioned the editorial from the Punch newspaper, page 22. Federal Road Safety Call, act fast on siren and convoy abuse. As the saying goes, res ipsa loquitur, it speaks for itself. So siren and convoy abuse is one terror that we have on our roads. Bye, I will see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria, still on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we get ahead with our item for discussion.
Hey, where's your mom?
Today is her toilet day.
What?
Helen!
Toilet day? Tomorrow you're hosting a party and it's a matter of my reputation. Even if you spend your entire day cleaning with all this, it still won't be party ready. Impossible!
Challenge?
New Ticker Harpic 10X. Even if you use this solution 10 times, it won't give you the same cleaning like Harpic. Its new Ticker formulation sticks to the bowl better, removes old stains, and gives you a sparkling clean toilet.
Wow!
New Harpic 10X gives me the freedom from toilet day. New Harpic 10X for 10 times better cleaning.
When we have love, we'll be able to unite, irrespective of tribe, religion, and culture. So we keep preaching on love. That is the only binding force. Let us love ourselves, irrespective of where the person comes from.
You are about to witness the commencement of the most stimulating and compelling contest on television. This contest is only for the strong, the intelligent, and the talented. Get ready for the Unity Challenge reality TV show. Coming soon.
Are you aware that your perfect family may be under threat by germs? Germs can cause infectious diseases like diarrhea, typhoid, and flu. These infectious diseases are amongst the biggest killers of adults and children. In Nigeria, tens of thousands of children under the age of 5 have died due to diarrhea caused by germs, which could easily have been prevented. These illness-causing germs are everywhere. Dirty surfaces, on cuts and wounds, on your clothes, in unclean bathing water. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's 1 capsule. For surface cleaning, for first aid, for your laundry, in your bathing water, and to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol Sure.
And thank you for staying with us. And now to set the tune for our conversation this morning, which is on JAMB reforms and technology. Let's hear from Aisha Ubali.
In Nigeria, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, is the government agency empowered to conduct matriculation examination for entry into all universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. JAMB is also saddled with the responsibility of appointing examiners, moderators, invigilators, members of the subject panels and committees, as well as other persons connected in one way or the other with matriculation and its related matters. It also places suitably qualified candidates in tertiary institutions after having taken into account the vacancies available in each tertiary institution, the guidelines approved for each tertiary institution by its proprietors or other competent authorities, and the preferences expressed or otherwise indicated by the candidate for certain tertiary institutions and courses. Despite the successes recorded by JAMB over the years, the examination exercise has not been without some challenges, and to address this, the board went ahead to reposition and reform the body by introducing computer-based examination centers. Although it was a welcome development, observers say it was like plunging into a fresh set of problems while trying to swim away from some others.
It's not everybody that is computer literate. And even the computer literates are complaining of the setting of the exams writing. In the sense that if you notice that in the screen there's a place where you click on submit completely. So if at all someone is not aware of him going to the next subject after finishing the first one, and by mistake he happens to click on submit, what actually have they done to recover that kind of problem? And the person still have time. Is not that he did it intentionally, he did it out of fear or phobia of exams. So to me, they've not really taken any drastic measures to resolve that issue.
Development in the country, at least the country is developing to a digital age. We won't stay in an analog age where we write exams with paper.
So far they are not working on the special center aspect. Are you getting me? Like, people are still working on special center. Where are they getting the results from? Because out of 100% people writing JAMB, 70% will pass from the special center. Why some people who follow the normal procedure will never get their results? So why?
Some students, they will make arrangement with some people to sit for them. That is, they will sit for them for examination, JAMB. But because of this JAMB, the system that JAMB adopts in the CBT system, you can see if you want to write JAMB, you must see your picture. Even the supervisor, they will see your picture. But in the paper and pencil, nothing like your picture. Sometimes they will bring arbor, so that they will not even make use of it. But in the computer-based test, you see your picture. The parent that supervise you, they will see your picture. If you are not the one that is writing the exam, they will see you immediately. They will identify you. So to me, the computer-based test is the best system for students to write an exam.
With the ICT-based examination, students could sit in a serene and comfortable room, but this must come with a price, as candidates must be computer literate. But then, the issues of malfunctioning of computer systems, slow internet network, and even power supply are succeeded in mind this new exercise. However, the issue of malpractice has reduced drastically with this new exercise. Again, still looking at how to check the credibility of candidates, the body introduced the National Identification Number (NIN) for registration, which was recently cancelled. Now, have these reforms really helped address the recurring issues in JAMB examination exercises in the country? What necessitated the National Identification Number (NIN) registration and later cancellation? Guest on Good Morning Nigeria this morning will answer to these and more.
Many thanks, Aisha Obale, for that background we have with us here at the Abuja studios. Professor Ishaq Oloyede is the Registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB. Prof, pleasure to have you again on Good Morning.
Thank you very much.
Also here with us at the studios, a regular face on Good Morning Nigeria now, Professor Mohammed Menoma, former Vice-Chancellor, Nasarawa State University. Prof, pleasure to have you again on Good Morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
And another regular face on Good Morning Nigeria is Dr. Biodun Adeniyi. He's an Associate Professor at Bayes University and also a Public Affairs Analyst.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Good morning. Okay. All right, let's also warmly welcome Aliyu Aziz Abubakar, Aliyu Aziz Abubakar is the Director General of the Nigerian Identity Management Commission. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
And joining us from Ilori, the Kwara State capital, via Skype is Professor Rashid Wenga Jimo. He is the Dean, Faculty of Communication and Information Sciences, University of Ilori. Thank you, sir, for waking up with us this morning.
Good morning.
All right, that's some very clear audio there from Lauren. As you said, he woke up with us this morning, as indeed others. Let's begin with the Registrar of JAMB, Professor Oloyede. I mean, our principal focus is on the reforms in JAMB and the application of technology, particularly for the candidates and indeed the end recipients of your candidates. We are having another round of registration now, and another exam is just around the corner. What is it with regard to the use of tech, about which we have had some complaints?
Thank you very much. I want to say that technology has become a must for any operation that we want to improve on. And what we do in both for the registration and the examination is to adopt the most appropriate technology for doing so. For the registration, we track the whole process. We make sure that anybody who claims to be doing something is actually doing it. And if he's not doing it, somebody else is monitoring. The first thing we have done about that is to make sure that rather than buying physical form, we now have electronic form. Rather than selling some form to some people and holding the form, we now have e-pin, virtual pins that you can buy 1 million. If you don't want to use it, you return it at no cost to you, at no expense to you. So apart from that, we have also made sure that in the past where people even do biometric, they do just one finger. We have turned that, now we have 10 fingers, the whole finger. Unless you go and hire more fingers from elsewhere, we have biometric registration. We have also made sure that since the practice elsewhere, that all our CBT centers have CCTV camera that will record the process. These are not foolproof because we have seen what people are doing. For instance, we have seen students, so many of them now, that do what they call combination, finger combination. 3 persons will go, pay 5,000 to the stupid man who is asked to register them. 3 people, I will contribute 3 fingers, this one will contribute 3. At the whole 10 will belong to 3 different persons so that any of them could come in. But we are ahead of them, and we are doing some other things that are supposed to. At the registration center, at the registration angle of the whole process, what we do is to make sure we automate the process. As you are registering anywhere in the state or in my office at the headquarters, we could monitor, we know who registered you. If I get a name of a person who registered 5 minutes ago, I go into my laptop, I know where he registered, the time he registered, who registered the person. That's the process for the registration, to track. Tracking is the issue. And as for the examination, I've had people talk, when people fail, they must have excuse for failure, either politically or academically. If somebody has A1 in WASC, we say, I score A1. But anybody who has F9 will say they gave me F9. So it is always blaming the other party for your failure. People are talked about, people are not used to ICT. I used to hold the opinion. And that was why immediately we started this issue of CBT's operation. We started it at the University of Ilorin. I happened to be the Vice Chancellor at the time we started the CBT operation for tertiary education in Nigeria. So when we came to JAMB, it was easier for us to improve on what we are having there. We introduced in developed countries, not all of the candidates are also computer literate, but they have what they call examination pack, which is like telephone, that you hold it like this. Once you can operate your cell phone, you can operate it. So when I came in, What we did was to look at it. The cost was enormous. We couldn't afford the cost, but we then found a way, because if you are poor, you are likely to be wise. God will not deprive you of two things. So it's likely that, so when we couldn't make the money, we then look for a better way out. Then we had a software, which is what we call Nike issue. You don't need to be literate, computer literate. Once you can operate your cell phone, you can operate it. And it's a Nike. Once you get there, don't touch any mouse, because the issue of computer literacy is about manipulating the mouse. A, B, C, D is the answer. You either have A or B or C or D. Just press number 1, A, and it will move to the next one. And if you want to move to the next one, you press N. That is next. If you want to reverse, you press R. That is, you want to look at what you have done. So +4 is becoming 6. If you want to submit after you have finished, you press S. And it will ask you, do you really want to submit? You want to press Y. So you don't need to touch anything other than the Nikes. The Nikes control what you are doing, and therefore the excuse about I'm computer literate. If my grandmother in the village could use telephone, I think anybody who had a privilege of even primary education. That is not to say that it is the best way to go. The best way for us to go is to make our candidates globally competitive, to be able to use this thing. But because everywhere in the world there is what is called affirmative action. In Nigeria, we give it a bad name and we call it federal character. In developed countries, they call it affirmative action, equal opportunity program. These are the terminologies that we have bastardized in Nigeria. Everywhere people want inclusiveness. And therefore, while we are carrying the people who are backward there, let us not lose the track that the world is not waiting for us. So the best thing for us is to go the way the whole world is going.
Yes, in fact, well spoken, if you ask me. I'm happy when you noted that technology is the driver of every complex process, such as the registration of JAMB. And I know this occurs because we have a number of many Nigerian eligible candidates who register for JAMB on yearly basis. But there's no doubt that there are encumbrances associated with that technological process we have put in place since 2015. And we are more concerned now about how Nigerian candidates can register hitch-free. I'd like to go to the NIMS DG, Aliyu Aziz Abubakar. JAMB tried to see how your organization can facilitate the easy registration and hitch-free registration of candidates this year. But it had a hitch, which made JAMB to reverse its original decision. What actually happened?
Well, as you rightly says, that we are in the 21st century, and it requires us to use technology in whatever that we do. And you can imagine that and what technology does fundamentally is to separate the content from the career. So imagine if, when I took my own JAMB, like you also, that we did it on paper, and they took it from my village to the local government headquarters, and from the local government headquarters to the state, and to Lagos at that time. So it's a cumbersome process. But now if you do it from the center, as soon as you submit, then it is there in the headquarters. So no any tampering that will happen. In terms of registration, when it comes to registration, what we emphasize is that we have a continuous registration. Therefore, a year before you go to do your JAMB, you should get enrolled. And why we are doing that is because it's only Nigeria that we do not have identity management system. So the systems that we have are not adequate for the population. Mind you, every year we add 7 million people, and JAMB is only about 2 million people. So, in fact, another topic is that 5 million people are not even sitting for the JAMB. That is another issue. So the systems are not enough. Mind you, in 2003, when we did the national identity registration, for 18 years and above, we deployed 62,000 systems. And also, when INEC does the election, they deploy 120,000 card readers for presidential election. We have less than 2,000 systems for the whole nation now. So the issue is availability. And that is why we came up with that ecosystem approach, whereby all other government agencies will capture data and send to us. So allowing, having a continuous registration, because if we were to do a system similar to the previous one, we will go to government to ask for 60,000 money to buy 60,000 equipment, and also money to have 60,000 ad hoc staff to carry out this job. But that is not the system we have. We have now a continuous system that at any day you can go and enroll. Therefore, we advise early last year, January, that it is mandatory to enroll. Come out and enroll. JAM also around March says that for the next registration, for JAM, come out and enroll. And in September also, they make that. But people did not come out until the last minute. And that is our own culture of doing things. Therefore, when people come out too much, the systems are not enough. But we have a system that is running at any time T, is scaling. That is the issue that we have.
Okay, let's get this clear, Engineer Ali Aziz, with regard to the continuous registration by NIMSI. What JAMB announced was that prospective candidates for the 2020 UTME should have or must have the NIN, yes. That is the National Identification Number. And then suddenly there were reports of glitches all around the country, plus typically again racketeering of the NIN number. So what exactly, before JAMB then said, okay, you no longer will require your NIN to sit for the exam. So how does what you are saying now fit into JAMB's own operations? Is it continuous registration that JAMB will take notice of, or continuous registration for ultimate possession of the national ID card?
Well, as I mentioned, that NIN is compulsory for many government services. And the idea is that if someone is going to sit for JAMB next year, he should come out and enroll and get his NIN right now, not to wait until the exam time. And also, Prof says that for the next one, he will start even the registration from September, so that if you don't register September, you should come out October and so on. And the idea of the ecosystem, that next time we should use the CBT centers themselves to be licensed by NIMSI, so that they can carry out the registration there and send to NIMSI's back end to generate that NIN. So the system is working perfectly well. There is no issue with the technology, but as you said, there is issue with people. Wherever that a lot of people gather at the same time, then there is issue of extortion that will come in. But as I said, if we have many centers, then the issue of extortion will just disappear. Just like, if you remember that when we have only NITEL providing telephone for us, there's a lot of extortion for difficulty to get the line. But when GSM comes and it is open to other people to provide that, then it becomes easier to get your telephone without any form of extortion. So the issue, the main problem we have is that of availability. We have a system that is working. Even in diaspora, people enroll and get their NIN, and the standard is like you get your NIN in 7 days, but usually within one hour, 2 hours, you can get your NIN, and the system is working perfectly well.
Well, I'm glad you appreciated the fact that there could be extortion, because of course there are insinuations that some of your staff actually engage in extortion from 5,000 naira upwards for one to get registered faster. Right, so we also have to look into that. But before we do that, let's go to Ilori, where we have Professor Rashid Bwenga Jimo, the Dean, Faculty of Communication and Information Services, University of Ilori. Prof, at the opening remarks by Professor Oloyede, he made it clear, that he pioneered the use of CBT in Ilori. I just wonder whether you have sustained that, but that's not the main question. The question is, you have listened to Oloyede and of course the name's DG. What, in your opinion, can be done? Because already technology has been adopted and there's no going back. Yes, we have complaints here and there, even after the application of technology in trying to register our students, hitch-free. What else do you think is the problem here, and how would you assist Professor Oloyede, who was once your VC, to see how he can handle the situation going forward?
Thank you, sir. It is not a rumor that University of Ilorin is the first institution in Nigeria to start the CBT examination. Even in the university then, there were a lot of fears that is it going to work. But you see, Professor Oloyede is a kind of person that believes in whatever he wants to do and has reasons, because I must tell you, even JAMB, the way it operates now, the wisdom by the registrar is that even the failure of JAMB is not the failure of the registrar now, because all professors of computer science in Nigeria are stakeholders in JAMB at present. So when policy with regards to the examination in JAMB is going to be taken, so professors of computer science in Nigeria, all professors, I must tell you, are also involved. So definitely the wisdom of using experts nationally and other stakeholders is there. The use of ICT in education is sacrosanct, and I think it's not negotiable, because the 21st century skills and knowledge can only be delivered through integration of ICT. And that is required skill that can guarantee the expected long life learning. So dropping ICT for assessment is not an option. And I think JAMB has made provision, as to the best of my knowledge, on the perceived ease of use of examinees. Because apart from clicking, there is you can use arrows, because you can use even next until the last operation you want to perform as a candidate. So the usage of the platform as it is, I think, is not a problem. You don't even need to be computer literate, as we have said. You only need to be literate, at least to be able to read and write. Even the visually impaired, the less privileged, there are also provisions for them. I think our problem is the attitude of resistance to change. What is operating in JAMB in the present time, of course, cause no cause for worry, or it's just a normal phobia. And I think we should be beyond JAMB. Integration of ICT in the educational sector should be embraced, because we cannot afford to be crawling when the whole world is moving at a very fast pace. Like I've rightly said, it is the only means that can guarantee the 21st century skills and knowledge, even beyond the assessment. Even when they enter the university, how to use ICT in learning is very, very important and must be embraced by all stakeholders. I think with what JAMB has in place now, there's no problem for candidates. You only need to be able to read and write, because there are provisions for people who are not even computer literate. And that is the take. And also the ICT hubs by NIDA in the geopolitical zones of the country should also be an avenue to create even technological development across the country, at least for people coming from the villages that needs, and that should not be at the point of writing JAMB. It should be before SS3, so that even those people from the rural area can have one or two training on the use of ICT. But with ICT literacy or not, the present examination application of JAMB I think anybody who is literate, who can read and write, can write JAMB exams successfully. Thank you.
Professor Rashid Jimoh, thanks a lot for your comments and also your appreciation of the JAMB registrar, who, as we indicated, won the National Productivity Merit Award last year for the reforms, of course, that he has introduced in JAMB. But I'm just getting a bit concerned. Maybe it's a manner of speaking. We keep saying that any person who can read and write can write JAMB. The JAMB exam, or the UTME as it is called now, is not for all comers. Beyond the ability to read and write, it must be knowledge of the subject matter on which you are being tested. Which now leads me to the next question, to Professor Menoma, former Vice-Chancellor of Nasarawa State University. JAMB reforms, application of technology, and the exam itself, everything is intended to deliver to the university, polytechnics, and colleges of education candidates who are worthy of admission. What is the experience of universities now? Are you getting through this crucible, through these processes, the right kind of candidates? Because sometime in the past, it was said that, look, you could get candidates who scored very high marks in JAMB, over 300 and something, over 400. And then by the second year, they are struggling to retain their academic standing. What is the situation?
Thank you very much. You see, that's the beauty of the reforms in JAMB currently. First, the whole idea of UTME is a selection examination. And as much as possible, they are trying to make it as objective as possible, that it is only those, whatever you are putting in, that is what you are getting. So, before now, there were arguments as to whether or not those that score high in JAMB are really getting the results from their own efforts. But now there is a lot of discipline in the system that it is almost impossible for anybody to get a result that is not his. So, and that is the beauty of the thing. Though it is too early to start, because what we have done in the past was to say that we have seen candidates with high JAMB scores. And at the end of the day, it does not reflect in their their results when leaving the university. Now there are new reforms for the past maybe 4 years. The candidates are now coming into the university. They have not graduated. We don't have that projections to see the number of candidates and see what is actually what they are doing in their classrooms. Though the environments might have a little influence on what you do as a student of a university. But I believe those that really come in with their results are high ranking. With this present system that has a lot of discipline that is inside the system, you'll find that we are more comfortable. In fact, you notice that many universities are now not even thinking of writing another examination after the JAMB examination because of the confidence that is built in the system today. You find a situation where candidates are tested, and it is you do not have any other way to get results that is not actually what you are putting in, because the outcome is really a product of what you are putting in, and that brings in what you are talking about. The university administrators have a lot of confidence in the system today because of not only the discipline of the process, but also the discipline of the staff. You'll find out that what is happening in JAMB today is that if there is any infraction, the punishment is almost automatic. You find out that there is no waiting period that something happened and nobody is hearing about it. It is almost automatic that the moment there is an infraction, people are put to test. And also, you also realize that the process itself is proof that the technology that we are using today makes it very easy. The whole hue and cry about whether or not people should, it is about learning. If you know you are going to write an examination and the process of the examination has these instruments that you are going to use, it is for you to go and learn that from the very beginning. there is no reason why somebody that is going to SS1, for instance, should not begin to learn how to write the final examination and how to write JAMB. So nobody, most Nigerians learn English language. There is nobody that his father and mother is an English person. So you find out that you learn this English language because it is what you are going to use to write the examination. So if it is computer-based examination, you should also learn as part of the learning process to make sure that you are able to use the instrument for purposes of writing the examination. So there is no issue as to if that is what you require, you should just learn it and use it. And I think that covers all the issues. To me, I will tell you that the current reforms in JAMB is going to give us the kind of accuracy we require, and is going to give us the kind of outcomes that is going to place people at their appropriate place.
Yes, my takeaway from what you just said is that our parents are not English people, but we learn English because we know we have to use it to write examinations. Right, and again, we also use it to a point where people would argue that for me to be very proficient in English language, which is not my language, should not be a determining factor for a particular course one is going to study. But maybe that's a topic for another day.
Kyria, sorry to interject. I mean, I'm sure you have seen the reports with regard to some Nigerian words and expressions which have not been incorporated into the Oxford English Dictionary. Some of those words include K-leg, Okada, Mama Put, Okada. You know, these are Nigerian expressions. You know, just say yes. You know, K-leg, Okada. You know, and so on and so forth. These words are. I hope others will enter. Including Wahala, for instance.
Right. Yeah, no, it's okay. So, Biodu, Dr. Biodu, I'm coming to you. You have listened to other guests, and I'd like you to put all I've said into perspective with respect to the introduction of technology in JAMB registration and JAMB exams. And of course, before you start, I'd like to point to the fact that JAMB is not necessarily a written examination from what I'm meant to know, because it's A, B, C, D kind of questioning, and you point the one that you think is the answer. So it may not really determine the performance of a student when he goes into school, when he has to write thesis, when he has to really even do courses that are not related to what he's studying, and all that. We have to take that into account.
Okay. Thanks a lot. I think the first thing that actually strikes me is that it's okay to be celebratory about what JAMB is doing, or about the gradual introduction of technology into our processes and procedures. But I'm afraid to also say that we're like 30 to 40 years late. You know, but again, it's not all right to continue in error. It's okay that at any point in time in the course of the evolution of a nation, when you realize a deficiency and you move to remedy it, it's appropriate. So to that extent, I think JAMB and every other organization that is interested, that is introducing computer into their process is actually commendable. But again, it leads us to what has been said, you know, in the late 18th, early 19th centuries by thinkers, that this stage that we are in is actually going to be upon us. The stage where technology will determine our lifestyle. And we're in a stage where there's actually nothing that we want to do that we cannot create technology around it, you know. So it's a reality, you know, and I do not expect us to do anything less than we are doing, especially in a world of data science, a world of the Internet of Things, a world of augmented reality, and of artificial intelligence. You know, perhaps what we should be thinking about now is how to proceed from where JAMB has begun, from what JAMB has started, you know, to expand it into other sectors of our economy, because there's a sense in saying that, you know, technology, you know, makes processes and procedures smarter, makes them cheaper, and increases productivity and efficiency. Now we're talking about smartphones, but I see us in the nearest future talking about using smart clothes, even smart food, you know, and perhaps smart husbands and smart wives, you know, because the way we are moving is very frenetic, and the quicker we keep pace with it, the better. Like somebody said that, you know, others are flying and we cannot afford to crawl. But again, let's not forget the problem of infrastructure. You know, what about power, electricity? You know, what about awareness? Perhaps the charge we're going to give our JAMB and other organizations actually is to be concerned about the creation of awareness. Let's not take it for granted that literacy level in this country is salutary. There are still deficiencies in this sector, and perhaps we need a lot more conscientization, promotion of the innovation, so that people, perhaps those in the hinterlands or other sections, might not be left unattended to at the level of information. And what about the funds for these things? We are debt-ridden, as it were, and of course we know that no amount of money can be enough, but some of these agencies can do with a lot more funds so that they can be much more creative than they are. Like I said, JAMB deserves commendation, but again, it shouldn't be dancing or celebration time just yet, because they still have a lot more work to do at the level of ensuring that exposure to this innovation, it's not marred by the absence or the lack of energy, the lack of power. It may not be in their hands, but of course there are ways in which they can determine it by trying to move people to centers, where they have availability of power, And what about the awareness that I mentioned as well? It's also very key, and it's not an area that any agency, that is innovative should undermine.
Okay, Dr. Adeniyi, thank you very much. Back again to the JAMB registrar. I mean, we were just discussing a while ago some Nigerian expressions that have now found their way into formal English by way of dictionary. We hope that when you are setting your questions and you say that, the man said they will see him next tomorrow, that one is not wrong, it's now correct. It's no longer the day after tomorrow, because it can be found in the Oxford English Dictionary. The same way, eat money. The Nigerian expression, as your people, some of them, they say snake, eat money. So maybe later we'll get to know which of the snakes, whether it was a python or a cobra that ate the money. Amongst the points that have been raised, and latterly by Dr. Adeniyi, has to do with infrastructure to drive the application of the technology. But that would lead me to ask you the question whether JAMB is operating in a silo. I mean, you're not a tech firm in the first instance. There is NITDA, which is the government agency. How much collaboration is there with relevant agencies? Happily, NIMSI is here. How much collaboration is there so that whatever observable shortfalls there are now can be overcome, and then you ratchet up the benefits of the use of tech?
Thank you very much. I believe, I may be wrong, but I believe that most of our problems in Nigeria are related to lack of synergy among government agencies. There are things that we go to purchase that are available and lying fallow idle in other places. There are resources. For example, when I got to JAMB and I discovered that there are certain equipment that we were not using. They were no longer relevant to us. And the advice I had was, let's sell them. And okay, something you bought maybe for 1 million, somebody is saying you are selling it for 20,000, 30,000. It didn't make sense to me. So, okay, can't we get agencies who are still at this stage? And you say, what do we do? Yes, it's government thing. How do you pass it? It's simply that you invite them. And we invited agencies of government. Once you are owned by the government, whether federal, state, or local government, come, these are these equipment. And surprisingly, almost everything was picked and found to be, because a divorced wife is a new wife to another person. Somebody you are, yes. So the new husband will say, this is a new wife. And surprisingly, many people just felt that, look, this is very, very good, and they pick. The point I'm trying to make with this is that it is possible to get so many things that we keep on complaining about without, if we have appropriate synergy, we don't need to spend. JAMB is a duty. This year, we have brought in 4 government agencies. And I've told our private providers, we are not replacing you. But government cannot have these facilities and we continue to behave as those facilities were the exclusive property of those individuals. We have brought in Galaxy Backbone, NIMSI, Computer Registration Council of CPN, that is Computer Registration, Professional Registration Council of Nigeria, which is an agency of the Ministry of Education. We brought them in, and the result had been enormous. Again, when somebody was talking to me yesterday, you conducted examination for National Nigerian Customs Service, and with line you collected money from them. Why can't you do it free for them? They do not know that we are leveraging on other people's facilities. Of the 700 CBT centers that we are going to use, we have less than 20 that are owned by JAMB. Those owned by federal government may be about 100. The others are owned by private individuals, and you have to pay them. So what we are saying is that if we bring all this together, and JAMB is doing that effectively, and that is why we believe when many people talk about what JAMB is doing, it's not JAMB as Oloyede or as the whole management of JAMB. It is our collective responsibility. Some of the things that we used to do, universities and polytechnics and colleges of education are doing that now. We have virtually appointed a vice chancellor or a provost or a rector to be in charge of the examination in each of the states. He appoints, he dismisses the proctors. He is the one that is in charge, and he supervises. Because a wise vice chancellor, a wise rector, a wise provost will not wait for a JAMB to impose incompetent candidates on you, and you start complaining. So we have told them, if you want a better thing, you better come up. And they will be there because they know the end products are coming not to JAMB University, but their own universities. So we have given them the mandate, and we have supported them. What we do is coordinate. And we are tapping the day I visited the facilities of Galaxy Backbone, I will wish that you go and see what government had expended on that. It's better than any DC I've ever seen anywhere in the world. And I've seen quite a lot of them. Because when we wanted to start our UTM CBT in Ilorin, I went to a number of countries. Immediately I became vice chancellor to see the data center. I've seen the Galaxy Backbone data center in Abuja is better than anyone I've ever seen in Africa, including South Africa. But we pretend and we talk as if nothing. If you go and see the amount of facility and even the infrastructure they have, but God has given us so many things. But unfortunately, human beings are defective. The type of human beings that are given to us. Why I'm saying so, sir, is that even this infrastructure that we are talking about, how real is the issue, particularly as regard examination? A candidate will go to an examination hall. The candidate knows that the system tells you, if you do nothing, after 3 minutes, you will be logged out. A candidate who does not, who looks at the question, he rolls up, he rolls down, knows that he doesn't know, he will keep quiet. And the system, the color of the screen will change and say, we will lock you out. He will keep quiet. After being logged out, he will now raise his hand that I've been logged out, to come and lock me in. Or a candidate, many of them, there was a candidate that we were seeing on the CCTV, on monitoring on the camera, and was not doing anything and was praying. And praying 3 minutes, 4 minutes, we then went to say, yes, my mother said, when I get to the examination hall, I should just be praying. We later discovered that the mother had paid somebody who is already in the examination hall, who has logged in with the candidate's number, and the mother just said, go into the examination hall, just be praying, do nothing. Somebody is writing the examination for you. Not knowing that we have tracked the seat of everybody. That by the time you say, they lock you out, there are some of them, we don't even listen to them. When they say we lock them out, because the system tells us what happened, we just say, okay, go and sit down. We will never attend to him because we know the cause. But if the father or the mother, most of them who are also part of the connivance will come and say, well, my child was locked out, this thing will happen. We have infrastructural problem, but they are not in terms of CBT. We are, every year, we keep on monitoring. This year, we have engaged CPN for the accreditation. We have engaged computer experts all over the country. We have appointed chief technical officers. Any center that is not approved by them cannot be approved by JAMB.
Professor Oloyede, I'm not cutting you short, but you have made your point, clear. But I want you to talk on, speak to this. You talked about infrastructure. I agree with you 100%. That Nigeria has infrastructure, some of which are not put into use. When I talk about Nigerian communication satellite, people will call me Mr. Satellite. It is there. We are not even utilized up to 35% of the capacity of the satellite. This is equivalent to whatever satellite that has to do with communication globally.
Yes.
Right, and giving a transponder to JAMB to do its exam is a possibility.
Oh, of course.
Now, what I want to ask you actually has to do with the issue of this fingerprint. Last year, about 24,000 students or more had issues with thumbprint challenges, right? And, you reschedule the exams in Abuja. Yes. There are people who came from different parts of the country who have never been to Abuja before, who never had any auditions in Abuja, as the case may be. So it put us on further expenses for the parents, Now, 10 fingers, is it not cumbersome? Because there's no one person, and there are no two persons that should have one fingerprint, even if you're identical twins. Yes. So why extend to 10? It's not compounding your problem.
Yes, thank you very much. Let me say it's not new. Anywhere in the world, go to American Embassy, go to anywhere, you will see that they are taking 10. They must have reasons for taking 10. And I have reasons, some of which there will be no time to say. 10 is the global practice to take because of so many other factors. If you use this one alone, it's only this one alone that can open. But we have taken 10. If this does not work, this will work, the other one will work, all the 10 fingers. If you now try all the 10 and they are not working, it means somebody has followed you from your village. That's another English. So, what I know. Home trouble. So, that is the issue. But what we are saying is that all these things that we are putting in place, they cannot function effectively without quality human beings. If we continue to undercut the system, we will have serious problem. There are many parents. A lady was crying, and what was her problem? She said, I applied for English, but JAMB gave me law. The law establishing JAMB will not allow us to offer a candidate a course other than the course that he has agreed to. So you can't change it. The guy said no. And we went into it. It took us 2 weeks. We now discovered that it is the mother who wanted the girl to read law at all costs, collected the password from the lady, and went without the knowledge of and changed the course to law. And when law is offered, this girl said, that's why we have introduced a new one now. Anything any candidate wants to do, it's not enough to give your number. Your thumbprint must be there. So as problems are coming up, we are finding solutions to them. We have discovered that most of the examination malpractices are organized by the parents. And there is a gang in the country today. It's a center of examination malpractice. Those things they call tutorial teachers. Anywhere you go in the country now, see on a street, you will see 4 or 5 of them. Most of them hardly have school cert, and they are proprietors of tutorial classes. And they are not being regulated as expected by the state ministries of education. And they become the center of examination malpractice. Because they will tell people, they will even advertise that in my own, those who attended my tutorial class last year, they scored 300, they scored 400, and they manufacture all sorts of things to dupe the candidates. I think we are not operating in isolation. That is why we are calling on all stakeholders. Do not allow stakeholders to break the stake. Because if you are stakeholders, it means you must protect the stake. But stakeholders are the one breaking the stake, and there will be nowhere to go. So it is very, very important for us to find a solution And my own suggestion is let us all be sincere. We are talking about NIMSI, for instance. Many government organizations are partnering with NIMSI, I would say superficially. The DG is here. When we started it, I said, look, it's either we go into it or we don't go into it. No halfway. We are going to, what we were doing with NIMSI, I don't believe any organization had done it with NIMSI. Because what they were just doing is that government asked us to, it's a law. When the National Assembly invited me that, why are you forcing in on Nigeria? I said, me? No. You passed the law and you criminalize me. NIMSI Act, Section 29, says I will be liable for conviction if I do not comply after I have been notified by NIMSI, and I have been notified. So if you repeal the law today, good. So what is happening is that people just feel, I do not need NIN just because there is a law, just because the Federal Executive Council said we must follow, but also because it's the necessary and the best way to go. So these artificial things, where you go, some agencies, you say we are with NIMSI. They are not with NIMSI. They are just doing what government asked them to do superficially. But when we came into it, we said, no, the intention of the government must be carried out. And that is why the difficulty came up. Because those things that were either to put under the table became evident. And that is why we have to go back and plan properly, not just doing it superficially because government asks us to do it.
All right, Professor Oloyede and the other gentlemen with us here in the Abuja studios, as well as via Skype from Ilorin. We're taking a short break now. When we return, we'll take some tweets and then get some more comments from our guests.
To the outer framers, the hat tippers, the fringe growers, you don't need to hide anymore. Try Dettol Even Tone. It cleans and helps to reduce the appearance of blemishes caused by oil, dirt, and germs, giving your skin a healthy feel for an even better you.
Introducing the new Dettol Even Tone Pink Glow. Healthy skin feel for an even better you.
I'm Deputy Comptroller of Customs Joseph Atta, the spokesman for the joint security exercise. Over a period of time, either through indifference or deliberate non-compliance to the ECOWAS protocol on transit of goods by our neighbors, the Nigeria Customs Service have been raising this issue. MOUs were signed severally. They were broken as soon as they were signed. We've seized over 32,050 kg bags of rice, and that is a huge impact. And then the fact that the coming in of this foreign rice have been completely shut down. We've gone around, we've received testimonies of farmers who, before now, found it difficult to sell one truck on a market day. These people say it now that those who could not sell one can now sell up to 20 trucks.
To dey disobey traffic law, they cause accidents. Me, I don't talk, say I no go dey do am again because change begins with me.
Cross the other side of the road.
I will no longer endanger my life crossing the express. Instead, I will use the bridge because change begins with me.
Oga driver, stop this bus now, won't come down. I be one carry me pass where they go.
Make I dey stop anyhow for road, they cause traffic wahala and accidents. So I go dey stop for the right bus stop because change begins with me.
Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Kira, just before we take our tweets on while the Skype connection to Ilorin is still stable, let's pop this to Professor Rashid Jimoh, who is still with us via Skype. Professor Jimoh, I asked the question earlier of Professor Menoma with regard to whether the recipients of the candidates who've been through the JAMB process on account of the reforms that JAMB is undertaking and the application of technology, whether universities are getting satisfied with the quality of those candidates. Professor Menoma was saying, fine, I mean, we probably would need to wait until those persons begin to graduate, but while they are still in school, it's fairly obvious, first year, second year, third year, to know whether they are of proper academic standing and whether they can match their scores in JAMB with their GPA at the end of the second or third year.
Thank you so much, sir. We had experience even here when we started the CBT with some students, to the extent that some candidate will be touching the mouse on the screen, not knowing that it's by clicking. I think by introducing CBT in JAMB, that has enlightened the candidate to have some level of awareness with regards to the use of the technology. And that also equally should be able to impact on their performance with regards to ability to integrate the usage of ICT in their learning processes, where we need fact to be able to establish that. But I think so far so good. I think that has assisted the students in usage of ICT for learning while after gained admission. But majorly, I think the major problem challenges, JAMB, major expenses for JAMB is on security. And that is why I'm one of the very few Nigerians that felt sad when the issue of the usage of NIM was reversed because of the challenges on ground. Because apart from the JAMB examination, no nation will have it successful with regards to the integration of ICT without a proper national identity management system. Because as an expert in security, integrity is very, very important. So the moment you can find out who does what at a particular point in time, then you don't care. The laws are there, the laws are well stated. So definitely to ensure integrity, identity management system is very, very sacrosanct. And I think NIPSI on this ground should also be able to make sure that by next examination, everything is taken care of so that we can rely on NIPSI with regards to the identity of the candidates enrolling for JAMB. And that will solve so many problems because at times when we are having examination, the management of JAMB will have to move from Abuja even to other parts of the country to be able to be sure that you are not alleging someone wrongly. But I think identity management system will definitely solve a lot of this problem, because when you are using ICT for examination, the three cardinal points of security, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability, should be ensured. And I think with identity management system in place, that will be a lot of investment is going into that area from JAMB. I think as a stakeholder, I know. And also, even technological development. Of course, we should think of the rural areas because we cannot abandon any part of this country with regards to the integration of ICT. And that's why I said there's a particular agency also responsible for that. And I think the ICT hubs that is springing up across the country by NITDA, it is meant to solve this main challenge so that people at the grassroots can be well trained on the nitty-gritties of using ICT. Of course, it's a training that requires just like a day or two, because just user. When you are talking of ICT user, it's different from an expert, and it doesn't require a lengthy training in terms of days, in terms of effort and all that. And I think it's what we can achieve as a nation. So that even not to talk of the exam, a farmer in this country from his farm should be able to sell his product with the use of ICT. And that's what is obtainable all over the world. So we cannot overemphasize the need for even ICT development across Nigeria, irrespective of whether it's a city. We don't have that problem in the major cities, but I think in the rural areas, we also need to find a way of getting the awareness and the training of ICT, particularly to the younger ones in the secondary school. But aside that, I think it has helped tremendously in the university, let me say in the higher institution, with regards acquainting the candidates with the required knowledge of ICT so that they can use this technology in their learning process. As emphasized that without usage of ICT, then we cannot guarantee 21st century skills and knowledge. So it has really helped. And that's why I said dropping ICT in the educational sector is not an option, because of course we cannot afford not to produce lifelong learning. If you see.
Well, we appreciate your comment, Professor Rashid Bwenga Jimo. We have to allow other guests to also make their final comments as we're about to round off this edition of the program. Now, back to Abuja. Let me bring in Professor Mainoma. The point raised by Professor Bwenga are quite clear with respect to the integrity of JAMB. These days, having introduced technology into the management of JAMB, and of course registration and the exams itself. Now, is it now necessary for universities to organize another form of examination for these candidates? Because that is what is on now. After JAMB, universities now organize another examination. Does it mean that all the efforts that Professor Loyode and JAMB have been putting in place in 2015 do not make sense?
Yeah, that's the beauty of when you have a situation and the dynamics are changing, then you realize that you may have to do a different thing. What we have seen today is that there is a lot of confidence building in the system. And gradually people will tend to agree, if they are really sincere, that the real motive for the introduction of additional examination is to have candidates that truly merit admission. But if the reason is different, like for instance, revenue generation, then you may find out that they will have reasons to continue doing additional examinations. Or if the reason is to ensure that staff get extra income, they will have reason to continue to do examination. But if the actual reason is to get people that truly merit a selection into the universities and polytechnics and colleges of education, they may not have any reason to conduct additional examination, because what they have is truly a reflection of the capacity of the candidates, particularly that we say that it is a selection examination, and they are fully involved in all this system. You find out that from setting of the examination, from conducting of the examination, the university staff and the university administration are fully involved. So they may not have any reason to conduct another examination. But if, like I said, the decision to conduct an examination is to generate income or to a kind of welfare for the staff, to distribute money to additional income for their staff, then they will have to continue to do the examination. But if the actual motive is just to get there, then they don't have any reason to go for another examination.
But they're doing it, and it's allowed by JAMB. Well, I'm just asking, is JAMB no longer qualified? It's not qualified to give us, candidates in schools.
Sorry, why? Let me, if I may come in here.
Very quickly.
Yes, very quickly. Yeah. I just want to say that tertiary education, university education, there are norms all over the world. We cannot invent unless there is necessary. We cannot reinvent the wheel. There is nowhere in the world, I say it, there is nowhere in the world where the Senate or the academic board of an institution is not giving the last say in the issue of admission. Just as you had rightly said, we are now having confidence in the system, but we cannot force it on them. If you force it on the university, the effect that you will have is that you cannot hold the universities accountable for their products. Because if they cannot determine, if they do not have a say in what comes, a university, many of them, just as VC had mentioned, many are now saying, no, we don't need post-UTME again. That is their decision. We want JAMB, many more, they are increasingly. But I'm saying don't force it, because there is nowhere in the world where it is forced. If the Senate of a university determines that we rely 100% on JAMB, let it be. If they say no, 50% on JAMB, we want to retest, let it be. The Minister of Education has done the right thing to do, which is done globally. No institution, whether private, public, or anything, can charge more than 2,000 for post-UTME. And that is being enforced. About 15 universities have been caught violating, and the minister was very firm on them. Return the money. They returned the money, and where they said they could not find the candidate, said pay it to a non-religious non-government organization like charity home and so on. Go and deposit and get the receipt for us. So the issue of making money from it, government had blocked it, because to conduct the post-UTME, they would spend almost 2,000 naira. Government had done the exercise and they saw the 2,000. If you want to do, you can't charge more than 2,000. And that's also curbing institutions, like he said, to say, what's the purpose of doing it? And they are dropping it. So we are saying that let Nigeria, don't let us force it. I have to appeal to the National Assembly the other time that, look, don't force it, because if you force it, people will laugh at us as a nation.
You know what, Professor Oloyede, I was going to go to Nimsi. I will still come to him. I would like you to take this question very briefly, because it's often been a sore point. That's, we have a former principal of King's College who comes here, Sylvester Onoja from Kogi, who discusses education very passionately. And one of the points he raised, and he never ceases to dwell on that, is why, please let me apologize for this, why is there the apparent consignment of the dregs of UTME candidates to colleges of education? That the cutoff mark for colleges of education shows that these are not your best and brightest, and you need your best and brightest as teachers.
Thank you very much.
Very quickly, if you can.
I agree with you totally, but we are not being realistic. There is the law of demand and supply. You have 200,000 spaces for education in tertiary institution, 200,000. All those who applied are not up to 100,000. All those who apply totally for education, they are not up to 100,000. So even if you make the cutoff 100, you still have over 100 vacant spaces. You are now telling me that of those of them who forget, you are forgetting one thing. Just as Prof has said, JAMB is conducting a ranking examination. It is not UTME that qualified them for admission. It is 5O level. If somebody crosses our border to Ghana, they will not ask him for UTME. If his father has money and he goes to London, somebody who scores 120 here, and you want me to kill, if his father is a rich man and he crosses to UK, he will come back 3 years later because he has 5 credits, and he will come back and he will be a senior to those people who have 200 here. So what we are saying is that don't let us mix issues up. It is not UTME that determines it's a ranking exam, assuming everybody is already qualified. What do we do to rank them? That's why UTME is a ranking examination. And we are saying that we have spaces for education. And if you want me to make the cutoff of education, medicine for instance, we say the cutoff will be 280 because the demand is more than the supply.
Prof, I don't think you got my question right. Yes. It is not to faculties of education in universities.
Yes.
It is cut off to colleges of education.
I'm talking of college university where it's even higher. And in colleges of education, I can tell you, the candidates we have, they are not up to the 10% of available spaces. And government are establishing more colleges of education. Where they will get the candidates, I don't know.
You know what, Prof?
Yes.
I think at some point we'll have to invite you and Chief
yes, I'm
Sylvester
taking it with
so
you.
that will be a subject matter for another day. Nimsi, Engineer Ali Aziz, let's come to you again. Identity management is crucial to all of this. Earlier, JAMB Registrar was talking about what he referred to is that combination finger or combination registration. Kirian will bring 3 fingers, registrar will bring 3 fingers, I will bring 3 fingers. You might not know that. So, how is NIMSI keying into this to overcome the issue of identity theft or identity swap, which can continue to undermine the integrity of the process?
Well, first of all, the process, we use the 442 fingerprint scanners.
442.
So you put your 4 fingers at the same time that will be captured, and then the other 4, and then the 2. Therefore, and then the system at the back end, we have invested to make sure that what Prof says, confidentiality and also the availability is there. The system is there and working perfectly. We are also certified ISO 27001 in terms of security. So we don't have issues of security. This permutation, again, the collaboration we had with JAM also helped us in verification because they use their own experience of what JAM candidates are doing to check our system. And definitely when we change the fingerprint scanners, now we have 100% accuracy in terms of the data. So you in terms of security of the system, in terms of all this permutation, again, that is why we have a control system whereby you do the capturing. We don't capture on the roadside so that it can be managed when you capture. And also why we are saying that the identity is foundation to everything else. That is why we have to have every person's fingerprint. Until you have all, you may not be able to cross-check all the combinations.
Okay.
Because
now time is on our side. We'll let the cut it short. We want to bring in Dr. Doni very briefly. I asked this question to Professor Menoma. You know, after JAM, you have another examination. You are in the school system. What does it connote? What does it connote? You know, what does that leave JAM? You know, after organizing an examination designed for institutions to select candidates, now the institution will sit back and say, okay, fine, we have our own examination to conduct. What are they looking for?
Well, I think there's a quick point I really want to make before I respond to your question, before I answer your question. One is that in this innovation that we're talking about, just like the computer has the soft and the hardware aspect, you know, the process of creating change also have the hard and the soft aspect. The hard aspects, you know, are the actual computers, the actual technology. The soft aspect is actually the human element, and it's often a problem, you know, which like I said, I don't want the agencies to undermine. The question of awareness creation, question of sensitization, you know, promotion, you know, of the idea that they seek to that they seek to change, which is the introduction of technology into processes and procedures. You know, but to your question directly, I think it's just consistent with the kind of system we run, you know, where everything is about competition, you know, about standardization. You know, if you feel, for instance, that you are not satisfied for one reason, rightly or wrongly, you know, with the recommendations or the productions of JAM, and you want to grade the student in your own way, I don't see anything wrong with that. You know, it's just consistent with the freedom that every society deserves, and that every system and the educational system cannot be immune from such competition, really.
All right, Dr. Adeni, thanks a lot. We had promised we were going to read the tweets, and incidentally, a number of the comments that our guests have made have spoken to the tweets from Conrad Ngala, Tula Sunday, Ibrahim Oduaji, Law Alfasi, Amabola Hombabs, and others, Olodimeji Morufu. But there are two tweets I would like to read out very quickly.
Okay,
Kirian,
let's start. Okay.
Dr. Nahax says JAM closed the best registration center in Maiduguri. That is the Nasara Computer Center, which registers, it says 10,000 every year. Yeah. So this year we will suffer a lot. Please, we are soliciting JAM to reopen the center. Never. And then, no, Kirian, the next one, that's the...
it's Abubakar Muhammad.
Yes, okay. I have evidence to show that a fraud was committed in the center, and we have taken the decision, and it's irreversible. The fact that people will suffer will not make us to allow something that will destroy the system. I will show you on the screen.
Abubakar Mohammed says, good morning, Nigeria. I think what JAM is supposed to do for the candidates is increasing the time of the examination. Why? Because 1 hour is not enough for science students, since there is a calculation.
That's mathematics, physics, and chemistry. You said no more pen and paper. So how does a mathematics candidate calculate?
CBT does everything that you can do on paper. So that, let me just summarize. There is nothing you do on paper that you cannot do on CBT. We have designed methodology of answering questions that will make a science student sweat as he will have done.
All right, Prof. Thank you so much. Maybe another day we'll take you on that. We'll take you on that. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to round off this edition of the program by appreciating all our guests who made it possible for us to dissect this very important topic. Professor Ishak Oloyede is Registrar of JAMB. Thank you, sir, for coming this morning.
Thank you for having me.